extremely well for the people of this country.
I call on Simon O'Connor.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's fascinating that the only claim for delivery today has been a waiting list that's approaching 30,000. Sorry, a State House waiting list, the only claim to fame by this government. And on course, because people, and you'd expect it from me, I have to mention Sir Winston Churchill, because actually it's not just what's happened, but illustrative of actually what is beginning to happen with this government. So a man who fought authoritarianism, fought fascism, fought against genocidal regimes has been deplatformed by the Greens today. Who laugh? Who laugh? They're our modern-day iconoclasts, loving their cancel culture, getting rid of everything they don't like. I'd actually encourage them to go and talk to their Māori party colleagues, because they're out there at the moment saying Te Ao Māori has no place for labels, which I think is probably a really useful thing the Greens could go to, because actually it doesn't matter that he came from the UK or he may have been a Prime Minister elsewhere. He was a remarkable man, and according again to the Māori party, Te Ao Māori, which I'm sure the Green Party loves, says there should be no labels. So that's really important. Oh, by the way, and more of just an encouragement to my Labour Party colleagues, don't tell the Green Party to walk down the Speaker's corridor, because there's a picture there of Michael Joseph Savage, and they might get a little bit upset about elements of his history too. So, really important. Why? Because this is just indicative of what we get from the left wing. It's about cancelling, it's about deplatforming. This government is pushing hate speech legislation. They're passing a whole array of other legislation to limit what people can think and what people can say. It's funny how they go quiet all of a sudden. They know it's quite correct. As was intimated by someone earlier too, they're trying to limit education, keep that well in control. No place for private schools. Watch out, integrated schools. They'll be coming for you next, because there can only be one source of truth. And that's Jacinda Ardern. Of course, they still like their little slogans. I think scaremongering's been thrown. It's funny how the things we say do come true. The only other thing I'd quickly end with on this, because I don't want this to all be about Sir Winston Churchill, but one of the things I've noticed is the thing they go, oh, culture wars, we don't want the culture wars here. Isn't it fascinating that the only people who say to us they don't want the culture wars are the side that think they've already won? Ponder on that for a moment.
Kei te whakaronga mai koe ki te reo e rangi o Aotearoa. Haere mai ki te rā tuatahi o te wiki mahi. Welcome to the first day of the working week. O te hotaka o te ata, ko Gaia Nespana tēnei.
Tamaki, good morning. I'm Susie Ferguson, and today on RNZ National, the country's largest maternity ward.
He maha ngā kohu e kōrewerewa ana ki Tamaki Makaurau i te ata nei. Heaps of fog around in Auckland this morning. That is a problem at the airport. A number of flights cancelled this morning, so you better check if you are travelling this morning. NZTA is asking Aucklanders kia ata haere to travel carefully.
We're really blessed in New Zealand. There are some great journalists. I love what Stuff's doing at the moment. I love what Newsroom's doing. I love what Spin-Off's doing, and Radio New Zealand and yourself. And I was listening to Marnie Dunlop on Midday Report the other day, and thinking, God, how amazing it is to have a journalist who can seamlessly go from Maori to English without breaking stride. Yeah, I think that's a marvellous thing.
It is time to talk politics this morning. Our political commentators Neil Jones and Ben Thomas are with us. Neil Jones was Chief of Staff to Labour leader Jacinda Ardern, and prior to that was Chief of Staff to Andrew Little, and he's the Director of Capital Government Relations. Also, he has a personal connection to the Office of the Minister of COVID Response, and also Ben Thomas with us, PR consultant, former National Government Press Secretary. Kia ora korua.
Good morning.
One other thing, just looking at the time, 11:25 already, that you were wanting to speak about, Neil, or touch on, was what happened with Winston Churchill last week?
It was the most bizarre thing. So Judith Collins has, she's been distracted quite a lot on fringe issues and Aotearoa and, getting into a twist on and getting into a twist on conversion therapy. And she got to conference last weekend and she said, right, that's it. We're going to focus on the issues that matter to New Zealanders. And here are 7 big issues, things from housing through mental health, etc. And said that's going to be our big focus now. And that's the right thing to do. when you're in opposition, you don't want to get caught in sideshows. You want to focus on things voters care about. She then promptly got into a bizarre story where she went to the media about the Greens having asked for a picture of Winston Churchill in a corridor to be moved, and National wanted it, so they got the picture, and got into a whole media cycle about that. Even Scott Simpson even launched a petition about bringing back Winston Churchill. And it just struck me as another example of how Judith Collins seems unable to be able to stick to a core message, maintain that crucial message discipline that an opposition leader needs, and just seems to always be dragged back to her base impulses, which are always to spark culture wars, get into fringe issues, and ultimately talk about things people don't care about.
How do you see it, Ben? Was this about some sort of culture war issue, or was this political opportunism?
Look, I think it was sort of as Neil was describing, I think it's political ADHD. That, you know, I think this wasn't even something she went to the media about. You know, she tweeted something. And look, that's a fair enough thing that you tweet for your followers, you tweet for the people who already like you. You know, I remember a few years back, she had her picture taken with a portrait of Maggie Thatcher in my old boss, Chris Finlayson's office. And that got lots of likes from the people who sort of like that sort of thing. And, but to be sort of derailed and then to start getting into arguments about Winston Churchill's place in history and the disrespect, you know, this would have been a good tweet for, you know, oh, the Greens are getting rid of Winston Churchill. Well, he's found a good home in the National Party caucus room. You know, that's it, you know. And
that's the end of it. 4
retweets, 30 faves. You know, move on to the issues affecting New Zealand. But Collins seems to have this issue, and we saw it with the Aotearoa name thing as well, where she can't just seem to say, well, actually, that's not important. Instead, she's got to just dig in and sort of defend, you know, any kind of fleeting thought or preference or opinion she has to the death, like somebody on a you know 2000s message board on the internet or something. And you know, and it really does detract from the messaging. And she's just got to. I mean, I would give her the same advice I would give every politician, which is get off Twitter.
Sound advice.
Sound advice for anyone, really. Just very briefly, just very briefly, Ben, because we're running short on time. But how damaging is something like this, or is it damaging when you've said, right, we're going to focus on these 7 things, and then immediately you're looking at something else?
Well, I don't know how damaging it is, but it you know, there's 2 years till the next election, but that's a finite number of days. You have a finite number of days where you can put pressure on the government. You know, this has not been a particularly sterling period for the Ardern government. And to talk about things which I can't even think of many culture war aficionados who are interested in the Winston Churchill portrait. You know, this is just not something that will get any kind of engagement. And if you're trying to build a portrait of yourself, you know, for voters, you know, somebody getting extremely exercised about a painting is probably not it.
Thank you very much. Ben Thomas, Neil Jones, our political commentators this morning.